Hey everyone, welcome back. 10 minutes with Barb and Ron. I hope you don't hear my dog. He's whining downstairs because I had to put him in his kennel so I could record today. So how are you today, Ron?
I'm good. My dog's sleeping. He's getting old. He's 9. The veterinarian told me the other day that on the phone, we don't really take him to the vet much. He's pretty healthy, but I was getting an estimate on teeth, and they said, he's elderly now. And ever since he heard that conversation, he's been sleeping more. And he's decided to cut back on walks too. Instead of walking 3 or 4 laps, he's happy with 2 now because he's elderly.
He's elderly.
Yeah,
Did
he
he get his
does.
AARP card? His,
Ooh,
retired pet card. There we go.
I'll start looking in the mail for that. I haven't seen that lately.
What are we talking about today, Ron?
Oh, we're going to talk about something everybody likes to talk about.
Ooh.
School culture.
Uh-huh. Oh, school, it's so important.
It is important, isn't it? This is a pretty serious one today, I think, on school culture. It's, when you think about school culture and like you just started in a new district, so I wouldn't want you to give away anything, okay? Because, so you kind of can't give away anything. But I would imagine, like any place else, you've walked into a culture. And they say the research is kind of defined on that. And if for example, there was a group of you starting and you'd worked together before, like let's say 10 people from your SST went with you and you all joined that district at the same time, there could easily be a clash in cultures because groups bring culture with them. Individuals, it doesn't work quite that way according to the research. So in other words, there's a better chance the culture at the school will take over you instead of you changing any culture at the school. Now,
Yeah.
these researchers didn't know you, Barb. So I don't think I would hold anything to that, okay? So, don't get to thinking, oh no, but because I think you're okay.
Oh, that's interesting though, Ron, to think about it as a group versus an individual, because you're right. I mean, even individually as a person, when you enter into somebody else's world, their culture or their environment, like I begin to question myself as the way I'm thinking and the way that I would do things. And why is it so different than the way this is? And what was their thinking when they decided to do it that way? And so you almost question yourself. So that's really interesting how the group can change the culture.
Yeah. So I was kind of looking around and stuff, and I was thinking, you know what? What's a question that we could ask and kind of get to the culture? So, and maybe you could go back and ask some of these, but the question that comes to my mind is why do teachers like snow days? Think about it. Why do they just hang on those? Oh, we're going to get cancellation or fog days or
Uh-huh.
so.
Right.
And another way to kind of think about the culture, or at least maybe we could call these culture busters. You know what I mean? What happens if we praise and compliment someone that took a risk?
Right.
If they stepped outside the culture a little. And
Yeah.
I think to define what we mean in culture and maybe doing these things, it isn't so much it's to make things better for kids. That's how I look at it. If it's going to make things better for kids, then that's a good thing, and maybe we do want to. The next time you go to a meeting, Barb, have fun in the meeting, even though you're not supposed to. Isn't that a neat one?
I like
I
that
can
one.
remember my kids' first IEP meeting, and I went in just happy and tickled to death, and they real quickly, kind of said this is a pretty serious thing, and it's like, okay, but of course I brought my kid too, and that wasn't one of those things you were supposed to do either, I guess. But I thought my son likes to have a say in things, so I thought that
Yeah.
was important,
Yes.
you know.
Well, I love you mentioned right before this one about before having fun in meetings, you mentioned about the culture. It's really about kids, but it is so true. So I feel very lucky in my new job. You walk in and you can tell it's about kids. But I have in my years of working at state support team, or even when I was working in a lot of different districts, you can walk in, you can almost feel it right away, whether it's more of a teacher adult based culture and everything about how they work is around the adults versus everything they do being for the kids. And so just that alone, that feeling of who's it all about is a great indication of culture. That's
I
cool.
had that chance to visit Bartholomew School District Corp in Indiana and visit all those buildings and stuff. And oh my goodness, when I walked in the building, oh, you could tell it was all about the kids. It was all about the kids. And you felt it. Like you said, you felt it, you saw it, you heard it. It was, the culture was so wonderful and welcoming and flexible and, giving. And, it was just incredible.
And, I think that's no accident when you talk about Bartholomew, Ron, because they have been leaders in the implementation of UDL for many, many, many years. And so I think that goes hand in hand with that culture. It's like a belief system about why we're here and who's this all about. And that's why I love UDL too. So great. What other kind of culture busters do you have to share with us?
Well, I think another pretty cool one is push the boundaries of culturally acceptable behaviors.
Push the boundaries. I love to do that.
Push the boundaries. Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Well, I even think about I think about some kids that may not see themselves represented in the materials and the books and the activities that are in the school. And I think that is one way to push the boundaries, is to really challenge ourselves to think about, is this a place where every child can relate, can see themselves, can interact and feel safe and comfortable?
And here's one that I really like. If you really want to bust a culture, encourage the development of a subculture of your most effective teachers.
Yes.
Man, that's
It is true. Because
that is true.
Then you get this group of teachers who you've supported and who probably you're allowing them to follow their passion, and others see it. Like you said, it takes a group, right? So that group of subculture of teachers starts doing some really amazing things and people start watching, and you as a leader just sit back and go, have at it, talk about it. Why are you doing what you're doing?
This is one, I don't know if I should bring this one up, but the district leadership teams that I was part of to help when I was with SST1, I would ask that question like in our third meeting, what really is the elephant in the room? And you'd see horrified looks on people. Just, leadership almost every time would cross their arms and start looking around the room, and everybody else would have their heads down. And I don't know if we ever really got to some of those elephants in the room. It takes a lot of time, but there is.
There always is.
And when nobody wants to say it, it tells you a lot.
Yeah. But I think it takes a very committed leadership to make a safe environment so that people are willing to talk about the elephants, because it's risky. You're going to have some really tough conversations, but it has to be a safe place. And so again, that's almost back to that climate culture interaction. Like, you have to have this setting where you validate people, like you said, for taking risks and for trying some new things, who are willing to talk about something that's not very comfortable. So I've watched some leaders be just so good at that and get people to really open up. And then I've seen, like you experienced, just very, very difficult to talk about those hard things.
Yeah, it can be. So we got 25 seconds or so. So here's what I'm going to end with, and then you can end with whatever you'd like. I'm going to say this. As a leader, I have to change first. I have to set the standard, and I have to admit the things I have to let go of before I can expect others to step up to. So that's what I'm going to end with.
Good. And I'm going to end with bringing it back to UDL and really thinking about, are we setting a goal around our culture in our district or our building? And then how are we supporting everybody to get towards that goal? If we're trying to shift culture, it's a really lot of work. And so are we supporting others in doing that? So Barb is out.
I'm just astonished with what you just said. Ron is out.
See you next time.
YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment, and share.